Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm Eric Carlson. I am running for Congress in Illinois' 1st Congressional District. I am looking for the Republican nomination. I hope you'll come out and support me. This is the video number 13 in my series on problems and solutions. These are things where I describe, what I see as things going wrong in this country right now and things that need to be fixed or tweaked, and what I would do to do that. So I was out talking to people over this past weekend, and I had a pretty good conversation, a long conversation with the gentleman, and his question was where I stood on unions. And I had also talked to several other people, and they brought up unions as far as where I stood and what I thought about unions. I am pro-union. My family has all been pro-union. I was a member of the Carpenters Union here in Chicago. I was a member of the Roofers Union, and I was also a member of the Teamsters when I was a Cook County Sheriff's Deputy. Um, the the union issue is, and I'm going to break it down here for a minute. There's different types of unions, as we all know, the public sector and private sector, and there's differences in the way that I feel that those should be addressed. So I'm going to start out with trade unions. Absolutely, trade union. Of course, I did over 20 years in the trades. Um, the trade unions were formed for an outstanding reason: to get the working man, number one, a safe job, a living wage. Um, the My great grandfather came over here in 1888 and went to work in the Pullman Car Works over in Pullman on the south side of Chicago, and he was there early on in the early. Now this was when the labor movement was really taking off in this country, so he got here right at the start of when everything in Chicago, uh, you know, in that period, you had the Haymarket riot, the bombing there, but you also had, a lot of people don't realize that there was a lot of labor disputes and a lot of things going on at the Pullman Works in the early 1890s. He was there and he was involved in that stuff. Like I said in the last video, I have a very large extended family in the Chicago area. The vast majority of my family members are union members, especially the guys. We have electricians, pipe fitters, carpenters, mechanics. Like I said, myself, I was in the Carpenters Union, the Roofers Union, and the Teamsters. I am very pro trade union, and when I get down here, I'll explain, the differences between the two. I would like to see the trade unions expand training programs. I'm going to do another video very soon about infrastructure. I know they had Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan, which has everything but actually building back better, building anything. Just like we were sold that bill of goods about shovel-ready jobs in 2009 when Barack Obama took office. We still haven't seen those shovel-ready jobs. Um, so I'm going to do another video about what I would do with the infrastructure, and it involves heavily the unions. Under the plan that I'm proposing, the unions would expand, their membership would expand, the amount of work you wouldn't have to, the labor disputes that you would have would almost go by the wayside, because there would be so much work from government contracts. Rebuild every bridge that needs to be rebuilt in this country. Every Sorry, I'll go into that in my infrastructure bill. Otherwise, I'll get off track here. So, unions are going to expand training programs, and this is going to really help inner city youth also in this program. As I lay it out before we go, everybody doesn't have to go to college. That's the problem. People have been sold this bill of goods that you have to go to college, otherwise you can't be successful. That's a lie. It's a fallacy. The world needs tradesmen, and this country needs them more than ever right now to rebuild our infrastructure. The only way you're going to keep up with the Chinese in the next 50 years is if we have the best roads, the best rail, the best bridges, the best airports, the best seaports. So our infrastructure, including bringing natural gas. Why we shut down pipelines to something that made us energy independent, and something that we have a 200 or 300 year supply of, while we're developing other sources of fuel, or clean energy, things like that. It's the fact that wind and solar aren't here yet. They don't. The technology is not where it needs to be. It's nice to have, and it's nice. It's a goal to work towards. But in that interim, you can't just shut the power off to everyone. And you see how everyone's cost of, with the rise in fuel prices, everyone's cost of living has gone up, and especially here in Chicago, everyone's heating costs have gone up. That's because when you limit the supply and the demand is great, as it always is here in the northern part of the country at this time of year, it's going to cost people more. That takes money out of your pocket. And along with inflation means your dollar is weaker. So it's costing you more that way too. Democrat policies are crushing the working class, the lower class. You can't get out of that cycle. And of course, the Democrats don't want you out of that cycle. If you didn't need them to give you these crumbs, then they lose their power. No one's going to keep them in office. But if you look at the logical solutions and say, hey, this is going to help me, I'm going to have more money to spend, my neighborhood's going to get better, more people are going to have jobs, and this is what I'm talking about. And this is going to be in conjunction with the unions. The unions are going to expand under my plan. So we go down here to, key unions are the key to infrastructure in this plan. And I'm not talking about these infrastructure bills where 27 things get piled on top of there just to build a bridge. No, this bills need to be simplified. I'm going to do a separate video about that. A bill should only address one thing. It should be, you should be able to take a bill that is going to go get voted on the floor of the House and then go to the Senate and hopefully be signed by the president. The average American should be able to sit down with no legalese in these things. The average American should be able to sit down and within 15 minutes at the outside, read that bill, tell you what it says, what it means, and be able to say yes or no. The average American should be able to do that. All these arguments, stuff gets dragged out because they have to argue about this or that. And, stuff gets put in and taken out and everything. Make it simple. Simplify the actual process. One thing at a time. That way everybody can see. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing being snuck in on you. Your tax dollars aren't being wasted on some stupid stuff elsewhere. Or if they attempt to put a bill through like that, everyone's going to see it. There's no camouflage for it. So the other side of the union coin is what we're seeing in this country now with critical race theory and teachers' unions actually keeping kids out of school, not wanting them in there, claiming it's a safety thing. I just did a COVID video, the last one, video 11, if you want to go check that out. The dangers to teachers are no greater than anyone else here. Everybody else has to go to work. Teachers can't, but they all got paid. They all got paid while they were not working or doing the. And I know I had a nephew who lives here with us, and he just graduated high school. But his last year of high school, it was ridiculous what I saw them doing with this on Zoom classes and everything like that. It's not effective. So the teachers unions, and I'm going to say this in the solutions part, teachers unions need to go the way of the dodo bird. Need to end government unions. And what I mean by that is, for you folks in Illinois, and this is a local issue in the state that needs to be taken care of, but the biggest thing that's crushing this state economically is that the Democrat politicians who control this state went and promised these unions, teachers unions and the government unions, the people who work for the state, all the state employees are in the union. The politicians went and said, hey, we'll give you all these outrageous pensions and we'll give you all these benefits and everything. They promised it with your tax money. Now, they're getting pensions, but most Americans work a regular job. I have a job. I don't have a pension. I don't have benefits. I'm expected to save what I can and make my own way. Save for my own retirement and do my own planning. Now, these employees, state employees, they're making decent money. They're not hurting. They should be expected to do that, not live off a pension, work for 30 years, and then spend the next 25 or 30 years still collecting a paycheck from you. That's why this state is in debt. Our unfunded liabilities in this state from pensions, that's I believe, the biggest single funding deficit that we have is with pensions in this state. And it's only going to get bigger. It just expands exponentially as you hire more people. So the government, because they're paying state employees and governmental employees with tax dollars, they should not be able to give this stuff away. If you need people in a position at the state level, it should be, this is the state salary, boom, set in law for this level. It shouldn't be a negotiation where they can come in and tell the state, hey, this is what we want. And the Democrats who run the state just say, oh, yeah, we'll give you whatever you want. As long as, because what the unions do, hopefully the labor unions are coming around, but the teachers union and the state employees unions, they turn around, they take money out of each member's paycheck, and then they turn around and they use that to fund the Democrat Party. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle, and the people are the ones who suffer. It's your money going to waste, and you don't have a say in it. So you get rid of those. If you're going to take a job for the state, this is the pay. If you don't like it, you can go work somewhere else. And under my plan, there's going to be plenty of jobs out there. You can go get one, so you don't have to do this. So the state will pay for the people it needs to pay for. They're doing it with your tax dollars, so you get to set the price, no pensions. With the unions, with the trade unions, that's an entirely different animal, because the trade unions are not bargaining with the government directly, taking your tax dollars. Trade unions are with management and corporate ownership. That's entirely justified, because a corporation is looking to make as much profit as possible. So it's only fair that the trade unions would say to them, hey, listen, this is what we need to live. It's going to raise the standard of living. When people have good paying jobs, it allows them to buy more things, more goods. That creates jobs down the line, and more people have to get hired to produce those goods for the people, and gradually you move up the ladder. I know a lot of young people see this stuff on social media, and they think that, no, you should just start at the top. No, you have to start at the bottom. Learn. In this country, we all had low-paying jobs when we were kids, most of us, and a lot of like the fast food restaurants and stuff. Well, now you see a lot of illegals came up, and people that were taking these jobs, low-paying jobs, and the problem with that is that they lower the salaries for everyone across the board. Because if I can get 3 guys for $6 an hour a piece, why am I going to pay this guy who's more skilled and has had more training? Why am I going to pay him $25 an hour? I can get as much done, even though these guys don't know what they're doing. They're not as skilled, and they're liable to mess something up, which is going to cost me in the long run. But I'll roll that dice because I just want to stick money in my pocket. Trade unions are a good thing. They train people properly to work safely and build stuff correctly. And that's what needs to be done when we do this infrastructure thing. The only difference with the government unions would be police and fire. That's because these are 2 necessary jobs, and these are 2 dangerous jobs. Anyone working for the state of Illinois, sitting in an office typing on a computer all day, the danger is slim and none. Police and fire are different. They get paid with your tax dollars, but they actually provide a necessary service that is going to be, not that these things that governmental unions employees do is not necessary, but there's a lot of fat. There's a lot of things that we cut out. We all know that. A lot of them are patronage jobs that Democrat politicians, oh yeah, my cousin needs a job working as, he's a clerk now, for one of the state agencies and stuff. We all know how that works here. That's got to stop. But that can only stop if the people get pissed off enough to force the people out that are running it. And you have to get new people in there. You have to get young blood that looks at this and says, hey, listen, man, this isn't the way. We can't keep going like this, and we can't. You saw the Illinois deficit was unbelievable. Now, J.B. Pritzker again is running around bragging on TV commercials about how he's paying down Illinois' debt. Well, the Democrats are the one who created all that debt in the first place. Now, second, he's paying it off with other people's money. That's all the COVID billions of dollars that were given to this state by the federal government. That money came from people outside the state also. So some guy in Arkansas wants to know why his federal tax dollars are coming to Illinois to supposedly cover COVID stuff, but they go in a slush fund, and J.B. Pritzker uses them to pay off Illinois debt and makes you think he's doing something right. It's It's a shell game, folks. It's a shell game with these guys, and it's always been this way. It needs to change. The only way it changes is if you vote. Vote for people who aren't part of this system. I've never run for an office in my life. Solutions. So here's some of my solutions. Again, I'm going to do a separate video on infrastructure. That's going to show you where I stand on unions, because these are going to be key players in getting this done. And it's going to be profitable for everyone. When you have better roads and bridges, there was a huge starvation in the Soviet Union in the 1930s, and part of it was they realized that when their grain, when they would harvest the grain and they would put it in wagons and trucks and stuff, their trucks and wagons were not the greatest. But the worst thing was the roads. They hadn't maintained the roads. The roads are potholed and in terrible shape. They didn't have the money to fix it under a communist system. So they realized that they were losing like 15 to 20% of their crop on these roads, because the grain would fall out. It would be bounced around on these bad roads, and they would lose that much grain just trying to get it to the markets and get it to people. If you allow infrastructure to go that way, it costs everybody. Bad roads, truckers blowing out tires, maintenance on vehicles, downtime for vehicles. Truckers, now they can't work. Their truck is out. So that means stuff isn't getting delivered, which means, you're going to have a shortage on the shelves. We see our supply chain issues right now. All that relates to infrastructure. And you see Pete Buttigieg has no clue. He isn't so far over his head. They gave him that to appease people and to appeal to the LGBT community. So rather than, again, taking the best person for the job, they took someone who fit a label and put him there. All the rest of us suffer, but they got a guy to fill this particular slot. Again, I don't care what your background is, what race, creed, color, any of that. I want to see someone who can do the job. And right now, the Democrats across the board are showing me that none of them know what they're doing. Okay, as far as the teachers' unions, we talked about school choice in one of the earlier videos. Parents would get vouchers. Now, you're paying the taxes anyway. So rather than have your taxes go to a failing school, and this is more in the city than out in the suburbs of the 1st Congressional District and out in the more rural. I actually talked with a woman for quite a while about this, and she said, but I like when it says on my business card, school choice, and she said, no, because I like our schools here. I like our schools in the town that we're in. I'm like, that's fine. You can keep those schools. They're not going anywhere. Choice just means that the government is taking the tax money that you spent and using that to fund the school that your kids go to. If the parents in that district are fine with that school and think their kids are getting a good education, that's fine. But in the inner city, where these Chicago public schools are failing these kids, what you have to do is you have to give the parents the option to say, hey, I'm going to send my kid to a Catholic school or one of the private schools in the area. And those kids, they're going to be better off. The parents are going to be, and the money's the same. But it's a free market system. These parents, if I have a public school that's failing here and a private school, privately run school, parochial school here that is doing outstanding work, and I'm a parent, and now I have a voucher, which would have been either my money could have gone to the school and my kid can go there for free, or I can take my voucher, which is basically my tax dollars, and go to the parochial school. If I go to the parochial school, if enough kids go there, the state, and now everybody has the same opportunity. Everybody has the same opportunity to go to another school. So if the private schools aren't producing, if the private schools are doing really crappy work, people are going to go away from them. That's where the free market benefits the people. The free market and capitalism. These people can shop their schools, okay? And now the schools, you come to me, 100 people come to me with vouchers rather than 20 like I had before, people paying tuition. Another 80 people come to me with vouchers. That allows me to hire more teachers at my school, and I can compete for teachers because I have more money coming into my school, more funding because I have more students coming in with vouchers. So now I have more money to hire and pay better teachers. You don't need a teachers union. You don't need a teachers union if you have allow teachers to compete for jobs, and allow schools to do that by saying, hey, we really take our schooling seriously. Our school is going to be the best. Please come to us. I'm selling a product. I'm selling the education that parents ask for, because we've talked to the parents. I am selling that education. You're just coming to me with a voucher rather than me taking the tax dollars out of the kitty over here. It's all coming out of the same pot, but the parents get the choice. The schools get better. Teachers get better pay and can shop around for better jobs. And ideally, people are going to say, well, some teachers are going to get stuck in the crappy schools. Well, no, they're not, because they have the ability to leave and go to the good schools. And if they go to the good schools, all the kids are going to follow them to those good schools. And now you start rehabbing the old schools. You break down the Chicago schools that are still there. You use the buildings and you offer them a real easy lease, $1 a year lease to the private schools. Let them come in and occupy those old school buildings and turn them into productive schools. Teachers can shop their jobs. They have school choice. They can go wherever. They can look for the highest pay. They can look for the best school. They can look for something closer or out of there. You don't need a teachers union to argue with the city and the school board and to go back and forth and keep kids out of school and then argue you have to keep them masked. It's, playing on them psychologically and, keep the mask and stay out of school, and the depression that these kids are going through across the board through all the school districts, not just in the city. But you have to give people the choice. This is America. You should have a choice. You're an American. Your kids should have the opportunity to have the best education possible. Chicago public schools are failing in that. If there's other schools, if there's schools in the south suburbs, I know you have areas like Robbins that are very economically challenged. Same thing there. These kids are going to go to a better school. They're going to be able to go. This is going to help this country grow. It's not hard, people, when you break it down and when you look at the problems and use, again, I preach this common sense, logic, and reason. That's it. Just don't look at a D or an R next to my name. Ask yourself, does this make sense? All my videos, just ask, is what he is saying, does it make sense? Because it's all possible. It all can be done. People will say, well, this people will never, the government, the Democrats will never go for that. It's not up to them. It's up to the people. The people force the politicians. It's not the other way around. They've been telling you too long, oh, this is the way it is, and expect you to just take it and show up on election day and vote Democrat. And you never get anywhere. You're just spinning your wheels. 4, you need to end government unions too, again, except for fire and police. Pensions. Pensions are killing us. Pensions are absolutely burying the state of Illinois. That's something, again, that has to be addressed at the state level. So your state reps, your state senators, get on the phone with them and tell them we can't afford this stuff. And it's because they're going to fight you too. The politicians will fight you on this, especially the Democrats, because they get all that kickback. This is a slush fund. When these folks that are employed by the state have to give a percentage of their paycheck to the union, pay their union dues, and then the union says we're backing all these particular candidates, which are all in this state from the Democrat Party, to get them elected. Unions, if you want to keep these unions, here's an alternate plan for you. If you would like to keep these unions, what you could do is say, okay, but no unions across the board can give any money to any political candidate or party. They have to be apolitical. Let their members vote. If the members, now I guarantee you in the trade unions, you didn't get, this state went to Joe Biden with 53% of the vote. Joe Biden, I guarantee you, Joe Biden, the guys in the union did not vote 53% for Joe Biden. But yet their money that went into the fund is controlled by the people at the top of the unions, and they're the ones who are really in bed with the politicians, and that money went to support Joe Biden and Democrats across the board. And I'll never understand this. Guys in the trade union who, there's some guys out there that just can't get over the fact that this is not the Democrat Party of the 1960s and 70s, the party of the working man. This has become a socialist left party. You need to leave, guys, because it's not about, I don't understand if it's, my father voted, my grandfather voted Democrat. That's fine. These are different Democrats. They're not out for your best interests. So just think that over, man. Think things through. Do what's best for your family, but do not allow your unions to be giving your dues to someone that's working at cross purposes to you. Um, so that's it. Like I said, I'll have an infrastructure video coming up pretty soon. I might have to do one in between that because of what's going on. If you've been paying attention to what's going on with the Ukraine and Russia right now, I just clicked on, there was an article. I have to go in and read the rest of it. The headline was Biden weighs sending thousands of U.S. troops to Eastern Europe. I'm going to do a short video about that for the people in the district, just to give you a little heads up on some things. So, again, my name is Eric Carlson. I'm running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District here in Illinois. The primary, Republican and Democrat primary, is June 28th. I would appreciate if you would come out and support me and vote. I'm going to need your vote in the primary to get into the general election in November. So, thank you.